welcome to the class today, and I want us to be able to have a discussion on this kind of particular trial balance. We want to be able to know what is the, first of all, the functions of the trial balance. That's what we are going to first of all know. And if you have somewhere to write the function of the trial balance, the main function number one of the trial balance is that it is going to help in detecting errors that may have been made when preparing the ledgers. It is going to help us in terms of detecting errors that may have been made when preparing the ledger accounts. That's the key function of that kind of particular trial balance, whereby it will help us in terms of detecting errors that may have been made when preparing the ledger accounts themselves. Number two, the function of the trial balance is that it is going to act as a basis of preparing financial statements. It is going to act as a basis of preparing financial statements. That's the second function or the second purpose of actually preparing the trial balance. Another function or the role of the trial balance, it is going to act as a summarized ledger. It is going to act as a summarized ledger. So if you check, if you are an accountant and then you go through the trial balance, then you can be able to see all the ledger accounts in that kind of particular trial balance. So that's why we say that it is going to act as a summarized ledger. So, but in the main key one, I've said that the main reason why accountants prepare the trial balance is because they want to see if the ledgers were perfectly prepared. If the trial balance is not going to balance, then it actually means that when preparing the ledger accounts, we made some mistakes. Now, I want us to be able to prepare a trial balance from this kind of particular question here that you can be able to see. So the question is talking about the following balances were extracted from the books of accounts of ABC Enterprises as at 31st December 2018. And then you can be able to see there, they have actually been, they have given us the drawings, they have given us the gross profit, they have also given us the premises, we have the accounts receivables, we have the wages, we have the loans. I mean the loan, and the loan was from the individual owners, that yellow bank. So we have that yellow bank there. And then we have capital, we have the inventory, we have the cash, we have the electricity, and also we have the general expenses. And then of course they are asking the question that we prepare a trial balance as at 31st December 2018. So we are supposed to prepare trial balance as at 31st December 2018. So now the trial balance, of course, is going to be prepared in this kind of particular format, and I'm going to write the format here of that kind of particular individual trial balance. So now we start with that title. The title was ABC Enterprises. So I'm going to write ABC Enterprises. ABC Enterprises. A trial balance. ABC Enterprises trial balance as at 31st December 2018. As at 31st December 2018. And the trial balance is going to be this kind of format. We are going to have accounts, and then you are going to have the debit, and then you are going to have the credit. So you'll be able to have account there, you are going to have the debit, and we are going to have the credit in that kind of particular manner. So now, before we prepare the trial balance itself, the accounts that we have been given here, these kind of particular accounts, we are going to write them under the account column. For example, you can see we have been given the drawings. You have that gross profit. So these are the accounts. These are the accounts that we have been given in that kind of particular information. And all those accounts, we are supposed to put them under that column of actually accounts, that column of accounts that you can be able to see there. So the accounts are going to be in the column of the accounts in that manner. So now, before we prepare these kind of particular trial balance, there is a philosophy that I want you to be able to know. There is just a simple philosophy that you need to be able to understand. And this kind of particular simple philosophy is this one, that on the debit side of the trial balance, we are supposed to record assets and expenses. So any asset and any expense is going to be recorded under the debit side. So on the debit side of the trial balance, we record assets and expenses. Assets and expenses. That is on the debit side of the trial balance. We are going to record those kind of particular assets and expenses. And then, so maybe I can write it here. So assets and expenses, we are going to record them on the debit side. So if it's an asset and it's an expense, it will appear on the debit side of that trial balance. And then the other thing that you need to be able to understand is this: incomes and liabilities. Incomes and liabilities, we are going to record them on the credit side of the trial balance. An income and any liability is going to be recorded on the credit side of the trial balance. So incomes and liabilities is going to be recorded on that kind of particular credit side of the trial balance. Incomes and liabilities, that is where we are going to record our incomes and the liabilities. So that's what you need to be able to have an understanding of this kind of particular trial balance. So for example, we are going to kickstart with the drawings there. Drawings, when you talk about drawings are actually expenses. Whenever you make drawings from the business for maybe personal use, you take some money from the business to maybe pay the school fees for your child, that's going to be an expense. That's why we are saying that drawings is going to be expenses. And remember, you have said that assets and expenses are going to be debited. Then it means that drawings is going to appear on the debit side of the trial balance. So that amount, which is actually 11,200, is going to appear here. The 11,200. So you're going to put it on the debit side of the trial balance because drawings are expenses. Drawings are expenses. Then the other thing that you can be able to see, the second one there, is the gross profit. The gross profit. Remember we said that incomes and liabilities are going to appear on the credit side of that kind of particular trial balance. So gross profit, when you talk about profit, that is income. So that gross profit, that amount that you can be able to see there, which is 100,000, is actually going to appear on the credit side because the gross profit is an income. So we are going to put it here. The gross profit as 11,000, I mean not 11,000, but 100,000. 100,000. So we put that 100,000 on that kind of particular credit side. The 100,000 will appear on that kind of particular credit side in that kind of particular manner. Then the other kind of particular thing that we are going to have is premises. And when you talk about premises, premises are things like buildings. Premises are assets. And remember, assets are resources that are going to guarantee future cash inflow. So when we talk about premises, those are assets. And assets, remember we said assets and expenses must appear on the debit side. So because that premises are assets, then the premises are going to appear on the debit side of that trial balance. So that amount, which is so the 1,981,500 is going to appear on the debit side of that kind of particular trial balance. The 1,981,500 will be able to appear there. It's going to appear on that kind of particular debit side. And then we have the accounts receivable. Account receivable, the other name of account receivables is actually debtors. The debtors. So when you see the word account receivable, we can also call them debtors. And the debtors. And the debtors are actually your credit customers. They are the people who owe you. They are supposed to be able to pay you. So the debtors are actually current assets, and they are going to fall under the category of assets. And remember we said that assets must appear on the debit side of the trial balance. On the debit side of the trial balance. So the account receivable, this amount which is 16,400 is going to appear here. 16,400 is going to appear on the debit side of that kind of particular trial balance. Then we have accounts payables. When we talk about accounts payables, the other name of accounts payables is actually creditors. Creditors are actually our credit purchases. Maybe you went to a particular supplier and then you purchased it on credit. So you owe the supplier. You are supposed to pay the supplier. That's why even they call it payables. You are supposed to pay that individual supplier. So now accounts payables, because you are supposed to pay somebody, that's going to be a liability to us. They are actual liabilities, and then you can be able to remember the accounts payables are supposed to be under the category of current liabilities. But for us, we are interested whether it's an asset or liability. In that case, accounts payables are liabilities, and you can be able to see that liabilities are supposed to appear on the credit side of the trial balance. So that kind of particular accounts payables, which is 28,300, is going to appear here. 28,300 is going to appear on that kind of particular credit side of that trial balance, on the credit side of the trial balance. So the next thing that we have is wages. You know, wages are expenses. You as the businessman or the business lady, you are supposed to pay these individuals some wages. So to you, it's going to be an expenses, and we are going to look it from the point of view of your business. You as a business owner, you are the one paying the wages. You are paying your employees. So to you, the wages and salaries are always going to be expenses. Expenses, and when we talk about expenses, Expenses are those kind of particular transactions that are going to reduce your profit. So if you pay wages, wages are going to reduce your profits. And you know very well that if now wages are going to be expenses, expenses are going to appear on the debit side of the trial balance, the way we have said. Expenses and assets should appear on the debit side. So the wages, this amount, which is 40,000, is going to be the 40,000 is going to be in that kind of particular side on the debit side. Then the next thing that we are going to talk about is this loan, the loan from Yellow Bank. We have that loan from Yellow Bank there. So now that kind of particular loans, you need to be able to know loans are actually liabilities, and automatically liabilities, we have said that incomes and liabilities should be able to appear on the credit side. So now the loans are going to appear, that kind of a loan from the Yellow Bank, the 90,000 is going to appear on the credit side, because those are liabilities. Those are liabilities. And then we have capital. When you talk about capital, capital is actually a special type of liabilities. So because it's a special type of liability, then of course capital, it will always appear on the credit side of that trial balance. So the capital, which is 1857,300, will be here. So that's 1,857,300. So that capital is actually going to appear on the credit side. On the credit side of the trial balance, because capital is a special liability. It's a special liability. And always whenever you see capital, it will always be able to appear on that credit side of the trial balance. And then we have inventory. You know very well that inventory is the same as stock. Those are actually assets. So inventory is going to appear on the debit side of the trial balance, because that's an asset. That is an asset. So the inventory will be able to appear on the debit side, and it's 4,400. So the inventory, and there's like there's the inventory is here, which is 4,400. 4,400 on the debit side, because inventory is an asset. Inventory is an asset. And then we have cash. You remember that cash was also under the category of current assets. Cash is going to be an asset. And if now cash is an asset, if you were to also have maybe the bank is also an asset. So if they were to give you bank there, it is supposed to go to the debit side. So cash and the bank are assets. Remember, they are under the category of current assets. They are assets. So that cash, the 10,000, is going to appear here. That 10,000 will be able to appear on the debit side of the trial balance, because that's an asset. And then the other thing that we have there is electricity. Electricity is an expense. You know, when you pay for your electricity bills, those are expenses. And we have said that assets and expenses should be on the debit side. So that kind of particular electricity is going to be on the debit side here, and the amount is 8,500. 8,500. So that 8,500, we'll be able to put it there. The 8,500. And then the last three, we have general expenses. These are the general expenses. The general expenses there, they are even calling it the word expenses. And you know very well that all expenses are going to appear on the debit side. So that general expenses, which is 3,600, is going to appear on this kind of particular side. And then now what you are going to do, we are supposed to be able to add. We are going to add in order to get the totals on both sides. On both sides, we are going to add, and that kind of particular trial balance is supposed to be able to balance. So now, in terms of adding, if I'm going to add quickly, there, Then this kind of particular trial balance is supposed to balance at this kind of particular amount that I'm going to get here. So the trial balance is going to balance at this figure, and it is balancing at 2,075,600. So it's going to balance 2,075,600. So now that's how it is going to balance in that kind of particular manner. And when it is balancing, it means that we have placed those kind of particular accounts on the side that they are supposed to be. So now you have known the philosophy behind that kind of particular trial balance, behind that trial balance, that on the debit side of the trial balance, we are supposed to be able to record the assets and the expenses, and then on the credit side of the trial balance, we are supposed to be able to record the incomes and liabilities. So then it means if we were to have maybe other kind of particular assets, like maybe the ones that we are not having there, things like motor vehicles, those are assets, they are going to be on the debit side. If we are to have things like insurance, if you are going to have insurance, insurance is an expense and it's going to appear on the debit side. If you are to have things like land, that's an asset on the debit side. If you are to have things like sales, if you are to have sales, and then they have given you the sales figure, sales is actually an income account, and the sales is going to be able to appear on actually on the credit side of the trial balance. So if you are to have sales, it will be able to appear on the credit side because that's income. If you are to have like rent received, that's an income. When we talk about rent received, that's an income. Rent received is going to appear on the credit side. So this one is supposed to appear on the credit side. But if they were to give you rent paid is an expense, and the rent paid will be able to appear on the debit side. The rent paid is going to appear on that kind of particular debit side because it's an expense. So that's what you need to be able to know. Sometimes they can call the rent received as rent income. So rent income, and we say that incomes are supposed to be able to appear on the credit side. So if they say that one, it's going to be able to appear on that one, on the credit side. If maybe you are going to be given again things like discount received. The discount received is an income. Discount received is going to appear on the credit side of the trial balance. When we talk about discount allowed is an expense and it's going to be debited, but this discount received is going to be credited. So the discount allowed, we are going to debit the discount allowed. The discount allowed, we'll be able to debit it because discount allowed is actually an expense. Discount received is an income. If you were to have maybe commission received, that's an income, it will be able to appear on the credit side. And then a commission paid is going to be an expense, it's going to appear on the debit side. So that's what you need to be able to know. Commission received will appear on the credit side because that's an income. Commission paid, we are the one paying, so it's going to be an expense to us. It's actually going to be able to appear on that kind of particular debit side. So now that's the philosophy. The moment you have that good understanding that assets and expenses will appear on the debit side, incomes and liabilities will be able to actually appear on that kind of particular credit side. So now that's what you need to be able to know, and this is the end of this kind of particular video of the trial balance. I believe that it's going to be helpful. So now you subscribe to that kind of particular channel, And for any kind of particular consultation, you can actually be able to reach me through this particular number, 0718 58 10. If you want to confirm something, and also you can actually in the comment section, if maybe you want something to be clarified, I can be able to clarify it. You can comment there on that kind of particular YouTube channel, and I can be able to clarify something that you need to be able to understand or to be elaborated in details. So for now, it's bye. Until then, again, we meet in the next video. So thank you.